Hello, and welcome to another episode of Abbey the Podcast Lady. I have another special guest on today, courtesy of Podmatch. We have Virginia Elder with us.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Abby.
I am so excited to have you. I love the topic that we're covering, but I love that we are women in business doing something very similar because I feel like it's kind of hard to find other people doing what we are doing in the podcast space, which is managing, editing, producing podcasts for other people.
Yes, I am always excited when I see another woman in the tech space in general, which I don't really consider as techie, but like it very much is a male-dominated field here. So I always get excited when I see another lady, whether it's like a conference or whatever. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna pick you out.
Yeah, you're doing what I'm doing, and there's very few of us, so we got to stick together. So, what was your journey? How did you get into doing this?
So, our journey started with our own financial situation, and you'll be able to connect the dots in a minute in my story. But I turned to financial podcasts for help. I was driving back and forth to work full time in the audit field at that time, and I would binge these financial folks who I felt like were my friends and were helping me, even though they weren't intentionally guiding me with their advice. But, that's kind of the magic of the podcast space is that the listeners really latch on to you when you serve them and answer their questions that they didn't know they had, like over and over and over. Shortly thereafter, I ended up wanting to help others accomplish what I had. We paid off our debt, ended up debt free from $80,000 in debt in 3.5 years, thanks to financial podcasts.
Wow, congratulations
And
on that. That's a huge
thank you.
accomplishment.
Thank you. It was, and it felt like it. But like I said, I had those podcasters in my back pocket guiding me. So when things got really tough, I was definitely like in the app, like searching for their next episode and things like that. All these male voices were helping me through this. So why don't I become this woman who's helping other moms, like in my exact situation, get through what I just did? So I went to a conference. It's a financial content creator event. And that's where those podcasters were. So I was instantly starstruck, right? But in the background, I had launched my own show on this like financial narrative to help other moms. And at that conference, some female financial advisors came up to me and said, "We're looking for someone to launch our show. We think you're the right fit." And I was like, what? Like, that just was not the intention. Slowly but surely, I continue to make contacts in the space. My background in finance definitely helps, and I just enjoy the content still. I'm always learning. And then now that's what I do full time is produce financial podcasts for others. And it shifted. I do have my own show. It is not a financial show. It is now a show about podcasting, but that was the baby step in, right? And so now I just look at it like, my entire purpose was not to be the financial podcaster. It was to amplify those voices that helped me so much. So that's how it happened.
We have very similar trajectories of starting a podcast. That podcast kind of shifts into something else. My very first podcast was called The Small Town Tourist, and it was just about highlighting fun things happening in small towns. That is not what I cover anymore because people found me and it evolved into me, like you said, helping amplify those voices of people who want to get their story out into the world. And I don't know about for you, but for me, it feels so good to help. Like
Yeah,
I have a very specific set of skills, and being able to put them to work for other people feels so good.
I agree.
So, we are going to get into the topic today of starting your podcast and treating it like a business from the very start instead of making that an afterthought. So, I would love to hear from you kind of like an example. Say I'm someone who comes to you and says, I want to start a financial podcast. Lead me on, like, where do you take them from there? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who come up to you with that phrase. I know I get that constantly.
All the time, all the time. Well, one of my first questions is about their business. And okay, you have this financial idea for a show. So what is it exactly that you help clients do in your business. Like literally tell me your services, your packages, your prices, who are your top 4 clients, why are they your favorite, what type of people, what age, what life situation are they in. I just ask a whole bunch of questions about their business and their ideal clients first. Then we get to, okay, so how does your financial podcast idea or these couple of topic ideas help more people like that? And so we're diving into the details about the business and mission and vision and who you help and all of those things, all the way down to like your packages and price points, and trying to ensure that your topic idea and your content that you would create in this podcast is going to naturally support more people that you would want to do business with. I don't want you to attract a bunch of Joe Schmoes if who you really want to do business with is a bunch of Sallys.
Right.
So that is the very first step, is making sure that what you're designing supports who you actually want to support, and that those people are also going to be able to do business with you. If that is not your ideal client, then why are we attracting those people?
I think that is such a solid place to start. I literally had 2 discovery calls yesterday with people who I asked them a similar question. I'm like, who think you're talking to with your topics? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, we need to nail that down before we move any further.
Yeah, kind of the core of the design of the show.
Exactly. That's a great place to start. And when it comes to designing that ideal client, do you have like a process you walk them through? Do you have like a way to figure out who that person is, the Sally versus the Joe Schmo?
So a lot of times it has to do with just really honing in on who's your ideal client, or who, and if the ideal client, the ICA thing, like gets so muddy, and we've heard a million times about your client avatar and like all of these like weird terms, like an avatar. What is that? So I like to unpack like, who are you working with, or who have you worked with who was an absolute joy, right? Like they never once sent you a snarky email. They were cheery and happy. They booked calendar appointments when you asked them to. They did their homework. They filled out the form completely. Like the person who can truly follow directions and jive with your business well, who doesn't give you a weird feeling or anything like that. And who are they? How old are they? What's their life situation? What happened in their life that made them seek out your services? How many kids do they have? All of these things. And I'm not diving into the like client avatar description so much as like, we need to come up with their picture online and tape them to your screen so that you're always talking to them. Like I can't deal with that.
It gets
It's a little weird, but it helps so much so to say, you know what? I worked with this guy named John, and his business was at this level, and he did this type of service, and he lived on the East Coast, and he was a grandpa, and he did this, and whatever. And you just unpack who John was and why he was such a joy to work with. And we simply say, okay, like what other types of things would you say to help John? Like, what are some topics? Let's brainstorm. And so it starts with really nailing down that person and why they were a joy, and then picking apart like what happened in their life that made them come to you for their services, and then moving on from there.
before we started recording, you had mentioned that your production, your podcast management, you really get into the strategy of things.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear all about that, because that's something that I would love to get into, but my client load just, I work with a lot of creatives, so they're kind of hard to wrangle sometimes. But I would love to hear how you're taking that approach, especially working with mainly financial people who are a little more strategy leaning.
Yeah, for sure. So that is both a blessing and a challenge in this financial space of helping financial professionals with their show. A lot of times the focus is on ROI of the show, which means they want to produce a show, that has a direct impact in their business. And a lot of times the conversation goes toward like, how can I get 3 clients in the next 3 months? And it's very specific, right? And I have to pull it back down and say, like back it up for a sec. Let's talk about topics and content that those ideal clients have questions about. What are they typing into Google? What are they asking their friends about? What are they going to call their best friend and say, oh my gosh, this thing is happening. I don't know what to do, blah, blah. Like, what are those conversations? And how do we create content that helps them solve those problems and allude to your services, right? So, that in a nutshell is the strategy piece. But people aren't always so forthcoming with details, right? So it really helps, obviously, to have that conversation about who's that client or few clients that absolutely are joyous to work with. We kind of revert back to like, what services are you offering? What packages are you offering? How affordable is this for that ideal client? Is this supposed to be affordable, or is this supposed to be a stretch for them and something that they really have to like muster up the guts to commit to, right? And then I'm literally walking through as if I were a business strategist, or like as if I was their ideal client. I go to their website and say, okay, well, where's the button? Where do I click? How do I join? What do I do? Like, what would draw me to this service? And if those steps aren't super obvious, that's their homework. And then we're able to design the content, the calls to action in the show, and things like that. But if your ideal client goes to your website and they have to scroll down or navigate some wacky menu, or it's hard to even figure out how to join your newsletter, or you're talking about some freebie thing to download, but there's no pop up, it's not obvious. Like, there's so many barriers. People are not going to hunt and dig and try to do business with you. They're going to like give you about 5 seconds on your webpage and then go, oh no, I guess that's not the right person for me. And they're out. So we have to really hone in on like, what is the 5 second, easy click, easy access, you're in at least to an email list. And that's how we start to figure out, okay, once they have joined your business's ecosystem, typically through some type of free offer, PDF, free video, whatever it is, then we lead them to your services. Because most listeners, unless they've been listening to you for like 5 years, they are not going to just first time doing business with you sign up for like a $2,000 thing. It's just not going to happen. There has to be some easy wins and some nurturing along the way. And it is a long game. It is a challenge. And that's why this strategy is required, because you're not going to start a podcast from zero and have 3 clients in 3 months at a $3,000 price point. It's just not going to happen. So we have to like back it up, do the homework, make it obvious, make it simple, accessible, and clear. And then that's where we start to see the traction.
I feel like that's a really, really great takeaway. Like, you need to make it obvious. If your website is a disaster to navigate, and if people get to your homepage and they don't know where to go next, like, oh, red flag.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the last time, actually, I do remember the last time that I actually like went and poked around a website and hunted for something, and it was for VIP tickets to go see my favorite band in concert. That's the only way you're getting me to poke around someone's website to really get something. Put it right in front of my face, make it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about your average general public consumer who's not website savvy, who's not podcast tech savvy, who doesn't know how to navigate the back end of YouTube, right? Like, things have to be, I mean, you literally want to be able to say on your call to action in your intro of your show, click the yellow button at the top of my website and you'll be in, right? Like, something so simple that they literally cannot miss it. They cannot mess it up. You have to make it foolproof. If your kid can do it, then that ideal client can probably do
That's a really great, like, if the kid can do it, so can your client.
it. Yeah.
So let's kind of have like a which came first, chicken or the egg situation here. Would you recommend someone has those strategies, that first initial one or two funnels email list in place first, or should they start their podcast first? Which one of those should happen and in what order?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a brand new business owner, I do want them to start creating content right away. Unfortunately for me and you, Abby, this might be the DIY podcaster, right? Because the brand new business, let's just be real, is probably not making enough money to afford outsourcing production, right? But I want them to start building an audience, even if the call to action is to follow me on LinkedIn or DM me or whatever, which, as we know, that does not truly get someone into your business's ecosystem. You're not capturing an email. So you're getting them to like you, to trust you, to follow you, to connect with you on another platform, but there's still work to be done. So while you're DIYing your show, early business days, having your website built, maybe it's also a DIY website, some template off of Squarespace, whatever. But keep in mind, okay, the point is I'm building a simple lead magnet that people will click on so I can capture their email. And as soon as I have that done, I can start talking about it in my show. And I can announce, like, hey, everybody, I've been working on this in the background and it's finally ready for you. Use that. Build hype, make it exciting. It is exciting for you because you worked on it in the background all this time. And if someone's been listening to all however many of your episodes, they're going to be excited to see what you've been working on. So use that. Recognize that once you've captured their email, now you need to serve them with emails. So you can do this in a couple ways without getting overwhelmed, is just through repurposing your podcast content. If you're producing a once a month show, let's say it's like a really slow go, right? You're DIYing, you're building your website. Now we got to email people. What in the world? So just, upload your recordings into one of these AI platforms, help it craft an email that sounds like you wrote it, and let that be your newsletter where you're sharing about the podcast content, but at least you're serving these new email subscribers with something, right? You build and build and build. One day you can have your lead magnet redone. You can have a professional draft your email sequence so that it's something more formal. Eventually you can outsource podcast production, right? Like, we're building, okay? You don't just go from zero to hero first day on the job. For someone who has a more mature business, I am under the impression that, you've been in business for a while. You have a list of people that you've networked with, that you've done business with, that you've met at conferences, fellow people online that do the same thing as you. You have a list of contacts, and those people can be your initial folks that you reach out to say, hey, I'm launching a podcast. You can poll them and ask them what they would like to hear. I mean, there's so many things you can do with that list. With this business that's been around, and I'm assuming you have this list already, that's where I would more of want kind of the structure in the background to be set up before you start podcasting. Most small businesses start their content creation journey with social media, right? And so I just talked to someone earlier today where that's what they've been doing, and they're frustrated. They don't feel like they're getting the traction. And so they're recognizing that all this work that they're doing to come up with topics for reels, those could be full podcast episodes, and then the reels can be cut out of them. And this is someone who has a business, has plenty of clients, has the back end set up for email subscribers, a sequence, all of these things. That's the more like mature business perspective. They probably even had a professional set up those things for them. And now she's not going to DIY her show. She is looking to outsource immediately. She does not want to be doing all of this herself. Those are two different scenarios, two different answers, depending on where someone is at in their business journey. But I always just kind of default and say, you know what, like there are no rules to this, and you do it how you do it for it to be sustainable for you, because business, podcasting, any kind of content creation, it is all a game. And it is a long game. It is like Monopoly. It is not cards. Okay. So we got to design something that we can do for a long period of time.
We are kindred spirits. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. People will ask me, well, what's the right thing to do for my podcast? The answer is what's sustainable for you, where you're going to feel good about putting out the amount of content you're putting out and not feel burnt out or feel like it's a burden. That's the right answer to everything when it comes to podcasting.
It's not going to help you if you spend, let's even just put like a wild price tag, right? Like you spend 20 grand and you do 10 episodes and burn out. How did that help you? It did not. A waste of money at that point. But if you spent 20 grand and that got you a year's worth of episodes, okay, we're talking now. That's a massive library of content for an ideal client to discover. And that's what we want.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I look at my podcast clients like they're my children. And I'm like, I just want you guys to succeed and I want everything to be perfect. And I'm so proud. I literally just sent them a Thanksgiving email. I said, I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And like, let me know how I can help along this journey, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you be successful in anything that involves your podcast.
100%. It feels funny to like tell other adults that you're so proud of them, like they're your children. So I'm always like, well, what should I say? Because I am actually like so proud of them.
Yeah. I'm like, this is weird. I know I'm emailing you that I'm proud of you and I love you all, but I do. I love you all and you're doing great. I felt like that mom
Yeah.
in Mean Girls, like, you're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah.
I would love to talk just briefly about, I saw some of your offerings and your podcast production services, and one really stuck out to me, especially for my audience of beginner podcasters, and that is your package to help them launch their podcast.
Mhm.
So can you give me a little more information on what that would entail if someone came to you looking for help with that package?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I do not do quick launches. So if you come to me saying like, I want to launch my podcast in 15 days, I'm going to say, sorry about your bad luck. Because again, going back to all of the strategy conversation that we've had, I'm going to require a minimum of 60 days before we launch your podcast, because there is so much importance on the messaging and the strategy and creating this sustainable thing that we've been talking about. And we need time to have that conversation, to go through your guest list, to structure your show, to decide the frequency of how often you're going to publish based on your lifestyle, on top of the other like back end design stuff, right? Like we need time to have a recorded conversation, give me all of your beautiful ideas and aspirations, and then have my branding expert actually put visuals to that for you to see the visuals and say, I like this, I don't like that. I like, Joe's podcast cover that I found over here. Can we use some inspiration from his? And for us to have a very consistent feedback loop through that 60-day period. We get to know each other real fast, okay? And that's super important, because if I'm behind the scenes making editing decisions on what was a mistake and what was funny and what we should keep in, and writing your show notes as if you wrote them, and titling your episodes as if you came up with that title, I need to know you on a deep level, right? So that is super important. It's a 60-day launch period. And within that, we are also designing your intro, your outro, your trailer, your first few episodes. And my goal for you is that when launch day comes, not only do multiple pieces of content drop so that you're instantly bingeable, but that you are so dang proud of this work that you did. You are in no way not going to share about this, right? Like, and furthermore, we've equipped you with various clips and, quote cards or whatever you wanted to be able to share confidently. And that's the biggest thing, because out of hundreds of podcasters who are polled, we just don't talk about our own show enough. Yes, we're proud of our work, but then we don't want to be braggy, and we don't want to sound salesy or like try to, I don't know, be annoying. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just don't talk about our thing. And what I want on launch date is for you to not shut up about your thing.
I love that.
So, yeah, it's intense. It's fun. It's exciting because you're seeing the pieces get done and you're able to provide feedback as we are producing them. But yeah, that 60-day launch period is one of my favorite things to do.
There's so much excitement in it. My whole body feels like it's like on fire. I'm so excited because every day brings a new element that needs approval or needs to be made, or there's a decision happening, or someone's eyes are lighting up because they're seeing their podcast art for the first time. There's no better feeling than launching podcasts. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
I agree.
It is so great. Well, we're kind of coming to the end here. We both have super busy days getting ready for this upcoming holiday weekend. For context, we're recording this before Thanksgiving. But I would love just a quick synopsis of your own show. Tell everyone about your own podcast that you do,
Yeah, thank
because you got
you.
to brag about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it enough. My show is called Podcasting for Financial Professionals. And there is a hint there in that title. So, clearly my title of my show is targeted at exactly to my ideal client. So if you can take that and do the same thing, that would be very clear for anyone who might discover your show. So, yes, all kinds of financial professionals, whether they be a CPA or a bookkeeper or money coach or certified financial planner, that is my target audience. And those are the folks that I help podcast. So, all kinds of tips around podcasting. There are interviews and solo instructional episodes from me. And right now we are doing every other week drops, and I'm considering maybe in 2026 I might go back to weekly, but again, I'm doing the same thing y'all are doing. I'm doing what I want. There's no rules, right? So what fits my budget, my plan, my time, and I'm making it sustainable for myself.
I love that. Okay, one final question before we tell everyone where they can find you. What is a podcast that you've been listening to lately that you've been loving that isn't your own?
Okay, so these days I don't have that much time for just like fun enjoyment podcasts, but I do have a client who I have just absolutely become obsessed with, and her show is called Money Skills for Therapists. Clearly, she helps therapists with their financial practice finances. And I love her show because not just that any business owner can listen and get like financial guidance and ideas, but obviously, since she speaks with and to therapists and she's an ex therapist herself, there's this like soothing, healing, calming aspect to her show that is just, oh, like I just can't get enough of it. And, financial advice or whoever guest aside, I just love her tone and delivery. So if you are a business owner or a therapist, or if like money skills for your business would be of any help, I highly recommend her show just because it's like, oh, like so calming.
Perfect. I'll be sure to get a link for that in the show notes as well, because that does sound like I could use a little bit of calm in the chaos right now. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, Virginia, this has been so amazing. As I mentioned multiple times, it's so great to meet someone and chat with someone who's doing something very similar to what I'm doing. There needs
Yeah,
to be more of us in the world, and I'm so glad that we've been in contact now, and hopefully we stay in contact and we can do this again sometime.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, Abby.
Where can everyone find you online to work with you, follow along, learn more about you, all that great stuff?
Yeah. So the show is at podcastingforfinancialprofessionals.com. The YouTube handle is podcasting for financial pros. Like professionals was too long for YouTube. So
Dang
And
YouTube.
then the business address is podcastabundance.com. And there are a bunch of freebies and resources there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you guys are interested in working with Virginia, definitely check her out because she obviously knows what she's doing and she'll take great care of you.
Thank you, Abby.